Yeah, that's very true. Like going outside definitely is a good break from being cooped up inside, and definitely is a great way to just like take care of your mental health a bit. Um, again, speaking of like taking care of your mental health, something specific to Hero. So like as we mentioned like in the introduction, you are the creator of the platform Holistically Hero, and we've heard that you're really passionate about exercise and staying healthy, as you did mention a little bit before. So I was kind of just wondering, like, what role does exercise and eating healthy in specific have played in this pandemic for you?
Absolutely. So I think that anyone who knows me knows how passionate I am about holistic health and just your overall well-being. But I would say even more so during this pandemic, exercising and just getting out there, getting some fresh air is so incredibly important. And I think that personally, that was a personal goal of mine to not only help myself, but help others in my community. So what I actually do is I'm actually a certified personal trainer. So I hold online virtual sessions, and I train others online, and I'll just tell them like go to a park, and then we'll do our class in a park. And like you notice, like it definitely sets a good tone for the rest of your day, and it is so important to be able to go outside and obviously social, like while maintaining a social distance. But just getting your serotonin levels up, stuff like that, I would say is very important to me. And another thing I recommend very strongly is practicing mindfulness. And I have recommended it and to a lot of people during this pandemic, and they've told me it's made a world of a difference to them. So, yeah, so I would say if anyone is willing to try to get into mindfulness and meditation, I would highly, highly recommend a starter app. So like Calmer Headspace, and see how it goes. Try it out. Yeah.
I think what you're doing is truly inspiring, and it's great to hear what you've been up to. But like also, since I was a member of peer mentoring last year while I was in high school, I'm also curious to know how I guess peer mentoring, the program, has adapted due to this pandemic and everyone having to go home, and this whole school year, the end of the school year being transitioned into an online platform.
Absolutely. So I would say I was chair for this past year, and it was such a wonderful experience, and I would not have traded it for the world. And even though I guess our year kind of got cut short because of this pandemic, we, as peer mentors, I think we really stood together, and we reached out to our mentees, and we were always there for support. And I think we were always there for each other as well. I think that even as mentors, you definitely do need support sometimes, and that's totally okay, especially during times like these. Like reaching out and just having that support available for you with peers or mentors or anything of that sort is so important. And as far as I know, the peer mentors alongside the school board is starting an initiative where peer mentors can, I guess, kind of go back and mentor people going into grade 12. And I believe there's a scholarship involved, something like of that sort. So I would say I'm very, very, very proud of my peer mentoring team. The fact that they stood through all this and they were there for their mentees and there for each other. I'm beyond grateful that I was able to be part of a team like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So for people who don't know what peer mentoring is, do you mind explaining a little bit about what the peer mentoring is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a part of our school, we have a guidance department, and the peer mentors are essentially an extension of our guidance department. So we offer support system basically for incoming students going into high school, or honestly just anyone in high school. And we initiate a lot of wellness events and sessions throughout the school, like Wellness Wednesdays, stuff like that. And I would say our main focus, again, is just to kind of promote overall well-being and positive mental health and lifestyles and stuff like that. So it's truly, truly a great program. And I was beyond honored to have been chair. And it was an amazing experience kind of seeing all the mentors connect with their mentees and connect with their school community and lead all those initiatives. And I'm very excited to see what the program has in store for the future.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I know how passionate you've been about peer mentoring. Well, I was in grade 12, and it's so great how far the program has come. And yeah, so um I guess this question is to Maya. As someone living with an immunocompromised individual, how has COVID-19 affected you personally? And what precautions have you been taking to stay healthy, both physically and mentally?
Yeah, I guess living with someone who has just immunocompromisation and other things health wise, we've had to take literally every precaution ever to keep us both healthy, because if I get sick, it's really not that big of a deal. I have a perfectly healthy immune system that could probably do its job, but unfortunately, the person that I'm living with does not. And it's, for me, I definitely care a lot about this person. And, when I'm going out to places, I'm the one grabbing the groceries off the shelf, and I'm the one, wiping everything off just because I don't want that contact for the other person. And mentally, it's again just been talking about it, because not gonna lie, it is sometimes mentally draining to have to take care of that need, and just again, like, not again, knowing that I'm not alone, because I do have other friends that are going through the same thing. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really great that you do have that support, um, and you've been be able to connect with other people who are going through the same things. Because like doing it by yourself and like taking all these precautions that you probably didn't have to beforehand, is definitely a huge change, and I'm glad you do have the support for that.
So, to you, Anne, actually, this question. We know when you were one of the people who signed up on our form, so thank you for that. And you really want to talk about some music. So, I guess if you want to talk about some music, tell us really what you're really interested in. How has it really impacted you during this time?
Yeah, so when I signed up on the form, I was in a video call with some other friends, since obviously we cannot meet in person, and I was talking about how it'd be really nice to have somebody to listen to me just talk about something for a while, like a podcast. So that's how I ended up signing up on the forum, because I was going off about this album that I've been listening to a lot during quarantine. Um, you guys ever have that feeling where you listen to something for the first time and it's good, but you don't really think about it again, and then you come back to it later, and suddenly it's just like the most amazing thing you've ever heard? I think quarantine really did that to me for a certain album, E by Echo 2K. It's very Zoomer taste of me, I know, but it deals with a lot of very familiar themes in quarantine, like isolation and mental health, and also touches on some maybe racial tensions, though not directly related since the artist is not American. But I feel like it's very representative of things a lot of people are going through right now, talking about the kind of being on a altered schedule, the lack of sleep, the feeling of being isolated despite being surrounded by people. I feel like it's all very relevant to quarantine. And yeah, this is something I've noticed about quarantine in general, is it's changed the way I personally consume media, for better or for worse.
Yeah, it sounds like you've definitely seen um, a kind of like gravitate towards like a lot of media that does have a lot of themes that are very applicable now. And right now, I would say a lot of themes are pretty applicable, that might not have been in the past. And I also think that the conversation about mental health in general is a lot more foregrounded now, and it's becoming more important to seek out the supports and like find other people with shared experiences to ensure that we don't feel as isolated anymore because of the quarantine. So I guess like post pandemic, like after everything is over, how do you think this experience and like how you've been just coping with the changes, how do you think all of that will change our approach as a society towards mental health care and like making resources available?
I think there will be a lot of focus on reintegration and re-entering into a society that we have not lived in for months. Like, for example, it was even hard for me to get into a car and drive to a place with 10 other people, like not in the car, but meet 10 other people from 6 feet away because I was so not used to being around people in a non-virtual standpoint. And I think mental health care and resources will be focused on reducing stress in schools because school is now, back to being classes and structure and not so, on your laptop. And I guess just mental health resources will be focused on reintegration and getting back into a society that we have no longer lived in. And I guess even for myself, being in a space with other people, at least social distance has been overwhelming, even if, we're social distance because I just haven't been around people in so long. And I think mental health resources will be focused on, you know, living in a society together again and, moving forward and going forward because we're now living back into a society where school is structured and life is structured again and we have after school activities that aren't online and I think mental health resources will be focused on really staying focused, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you also mentioned, so I guess something else that kind of came to my mind was like, since moving things online, how accessible have you found mental health resources to be?
For myself, at least I have a phone, and I've found that a lot of helplines have been doing, text and calls, but I've also found within talking to other friends that need mental health resources that don't have access to a phone or don't always have access to internet, it's been really hard for them. For example, a lot of mental health resources, online chats and stuff like that are not working because they don't have people going into the office. Like, for example, Kids Help Phone's chat line is down, like their online chat. And I think that has impacted a lot of youth and a lot of people because not everybody has a cell phone, right?
Yeah, I found a lot of the support resources at university and stuff is a lot less personal now that it's online and over the phone. I feel like having that face-to-face contact and being able to read each other's body language when communicating is a big part of the effectiveness of some resources. So I feel like that's been impacted.
Also, when we're talking about counseling is no longer face to face, it's online and over the phone. And at least for myself, it's really hard to make connections over the internet. There's nothing like sitting down and talking to somebody face to face, but we can't do that right now.
And I've also heard that it's especially hard for children who might need counseling or therapy, especially when that's based off of like play therapy. That's much harder to do like in a virtual environment when you don't have the right resources to have such therapy like play therapy. So it's harder for that population too.